afternoon everybody, I'm David.
And I'm Elizabeth.
And today what we're going to be doing is giving you a demonstration or a bit of a crafting sort of chat, relaxed environment using our new Autumn Country collection from Imagination Crafts. And today we're doing something a little bit different. Yeah, something we've not done before because myself and Elizabeth, we work really closely together. We're always going over to each other's desks, seeing what we're doing.
We always know what each other's doing, don't we? So it's really, really different. We don't know what any of the products that we've planned. We don't know what products we've bought in here. So it's completely separate to each other. So we're just going to try it.
So yeah, basically we're going to create a project and neither of us know the outcome from each other's. I know what I'm doing, you know what you're doing.
I know what I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing. So it's going to be really exciting, it'll be really fun. And thank you to everyone as you're joining. But yeah, we're using the collection which launches on Thursday on Create and Craft. So it's really exciting. It's the home decor collection, and we've loved working with it because it is so fitting for this time of year. We're getting into that time where it's starting to
and all the warm tones colours of pumpkins, and
you get up in the morning, it's a bit frosty, it's a bit chilly, the leaves are starting to fall, and I just love that time of year. You get out your nice favourite coat and your scarf and your woolly hat.
Oh yeah, that's my favourite.
It really is that this collection makes you feel warm and cozy. But yeah, it's nice. So what we're going to be doing is, well, you can start whatever you're going to be doing. I don't know what. Basically, I'm going to be working on fabric today. So I'm doing something a bit different with my acrylics on fabric. And yeah, I'm going to get started.
I have got the comments out, so if you do want to leave any comments, I'm going to try and answer them as we're going along. If you want to say hello to us, let us know, and I'll try and keep an eye on both things. So I'm going to be working on the wooden drawers. I've just taken the drawers out of them. I've prepped half of this side while David wasn't looking. So I'm going to paint on this side.
Let's have a look.
Should you
Oh, very nice. I do like that.
Nice.
It's very you. That sort of pattern is very you.
Yes. So I'm going to show you how to achieve this look and technique, and some stencils on there as well. So I'm going to get started.
So what I'm doing to begin with is I'm using my ultramarine hybrid acrylic. It's a lovely deep blue colour, and that's in this collection. So you get your 120ml acrylic bottles in this collection, which is brilliant because you've got more paint to work with. You can use them in different ways, but you can cover larger items of furniture with them. You can do cupboard doors, you can do chairs, because you've got so much more paint in here. It's brilliant, and you've got a good selection of colours in there, so watch out for the show. I'm watering this paint down first, and I'm going to be using this as a dye instead of a neat paint. There we are.
And then all I'm doing with this one is I'm just giving it a coat of the hybrid acrylic in taffy, because I'm going to wood grain on top. So this colour is quite similar to the actual natural wood colour, but what I need to do is I need to prime this surface just so it's got a slippery surface so I can actually wood grain onto it. My mum's just said hello to us.
Oh, hi Jill.
Hi Mum.
So what I've done first is I've taken my hybrid acrylic and I've watered it down, and I've got it on the end of a sponge stick or an ink dauber. And what I've got here is a piece of fabric, and I'm using this just to show you the effects that I'm going to be creating. And what I've done is this is just some linen, and I've actually soaked it in water, so this is now saturated, it's wet. So as I add colour to this, it's going to take the dye and the pigment from the paint, it's going to bleed in, and it should give us a nice effect. So I'm going to start with just placing it at the top and letting it run through. So I'm going to take my paint, and I'll put it just at the top there. As you can see, I've got a line of blue going across, and it's slowly starting to actually bleed down into the fabric. And I'm going to keep on going with that until I get my desired effect, which should be a nice sky scene, which is a bit of a hint.
So next I'm going to take the drawers with one of the rise papers. So while that's just drying, I'm going to try and work cleverly, and while something's drying I'm going to work on something else. So hopefully the timing should work.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So this is one of the Autumn Country rise papers. So we've got that book script in the background, we've got falling leaves, we've got the pumpkins, we've got the trees.
They're really
You're using
nice.
that rise paper as well, aren't you?
Might be doing. Might be using it.
You can just see it poking out there. But I'm going to be putting this one onto the drawers today. It's going to be a continuous pattern down, so when the drawers are actually in, it'll just look like a repeat pattern, but it'll have like little splits in it, so it looks a little bit more disjointed, but it still flows really nicely. And to do this, I'm going to be using the Decoupage Plus glue because it is going onto harder surfaces. If you did want to decoupage onto fabric, it is the fabric decoupage glue, and I think it looks like David's going to be
I might be using that one. It's on the table.
Really bad to use it.
Yeah. So I've been working this in now, and I've been just going in with the glue And the thing is, sometimes when I'm working onto card or paper with an ink sponge, I get a little bit nervous that I'm going to get left with a circular sort of edge to the end of the sponge and the colour's going to stay. But with this, the beauty of actually saturating it, and you could do this if you were to drench your watercolour card as well, is it just continues to merge through. So you can see here I've started at the top and it's going down the fabric and it's just giving us a really nice effect. And you could do so much with this. You could then quilt with this, you can make anything you want with it and use any of the colours or mix the colours together, which would look really nice actually. I'm going to keep going with it until I'm happy with the sort of saturation that I'm getting.
It'd be really nice to blend the other colours like what you just said, because all the Cadence colours flow so nicely together and people just get a really nice mix.
In this collection with the acrylics, we've got really deep, rich oranges, we've got browns, we've got greens,
yellows,
all those sort of leafy, autumny tones that work so well. And it ties together really nicely. And you can make seasonal decorations with this, so you can tie it into your Halloween decorations if you like to make autumnal wreaths. Yeah, you could make some really nice home decor Halloween stuff with this, which I think would be lovely. So keep on going.
So to make sure I've got that continuous pattern, I'm just going to place the drawers together so you can just see like that. And I'm going to pick the section of the rice paper that I want to see most. I think I might like to put the pumpkins on here actually, so something a little bit more different. And like we say, it's fitting for that time of year. So I'm going to pop it down.
I'd love to go pumpkin picking this year.
I know.
I always see loads of people always going and picking the
Yeah.
pumpkins from the fields and stuff, and I think it looks
I
so
always say, oh, I'll go
nice.
this year, and I never
Yeah.
do, but I might get it.
I'd
My
love to
welly's
do
on.
it. Yeah,
I think my welly's out.
it looks so nice. Right, so I think I'm finished there. I'm quite happy with that. So I've got my blue, it's all started to run down, and the way I would then leave this is I've got it in two halves. Let me show you. So it's like this. And then I would droop that over a washing line or a piece of string or anything and leave it to dry overnight. You don't want to heat dry it with a hairdryer or anything like that, because then you might sort of push the colour through, and leaving it this way just to dry naturally will give you the sort of natural bleed that you're wanting through the fabric. So that's that one done, and I have got one that I prepared into a cushion cover.
Do
Just
here's
show
one
you.
I made earlier.
The one I made earlier. It's coming up in the washing pans. So I've done the exact same thing on a larger scale. So I've got it and I've sewn the back just to make a basic cushion envelope, and that's my cushion cover. So you can see it starting to take shape, and that was so easy to do. So you didn't have to buy any particular fabric that had a dye already through it, and you've used a neat hybrid acrylic there. So this is going to stay inside my fabric and become washable, but at the same time it's so delicate and fragile, I've not had to put it straight on there without doing anything. It's just a perfect paint for that.
Looks really nice though.
It is, it's really pretty. Thank you.
So I'm just leaving the drawers to dry, and I'm going to take off all the excess rice paper in a second, but this is completely dry now, a few minutes and it's touched to dry. It still feels just a tiny bit damp, but that's absolutely fine for what I'm going to be doing on it next. So next I'm going to be taking the Cadence Very Chalky Wash Effect, and this is in the colour Oxide Yellow. So I'm going to be wood graining with this. So this comes out as a very translucent sort of washed paint, so you can either just use it just to wash down the intensity of the colour, but I'm going to be wood graining with it today, so I can show you both techniques with it. So this is just the wash.
One thing I love with that paint as well is if you were to actually use it on a wood effect that you've already got, such as an old palette or something, it will still allow the wood grain to come through. It's a really good paint for that, so it's got a good coverage, but it also allows it to be translucent as well.
Yeah,
so it's
just change like the background colour.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's really nice.
So as you can see, that is just a wash. So we're just giving it like a watercolour wash of the Oxide Yellow, and then I'm going to be taking the wood grainer, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to start. So this is little tooling. It's got little semicircles in it. So what you're going to do is pop your semicircle down, and we're just going to use it in a rocking backwards and forward motion and pull it towards you. So I'm going to do this in two halves because I think I can get 2 knots on this either side.
I absolutely love that tool. I remember when we first got it from Cadence, and I'd never used
seen
it.
one before. I didn't even know it was a thing.
I never knew they existed, and we saw it and I thought, what do you do with this? Like, what do you create? It's got the bristles on the back so you can create with the texture, and you've got the front, and then I dragged it through paint.
You were amazed, you loved it, didn't you? You did a little video of it.
I almost used a full pack of cardstock, just practicing it
Yeah.
different ways with different colours, and it's
Having a
just,
go.
it looks amazing. I love it.
That's 2 minutes, done.
It's instant, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's straight
done.
away. It's so easy to use.
It's nice enough to just leave it like that, but I want to put the little burnt edges just around the corners just so it looks a little bit more autumnal. I think it works really nice. So I'm just going to quickly dry this off, so I'm really not going to put it.
Oh, go on then. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my brush in my water, and I've chosen this rice paper here, and I can see I've got an almost like a seam really going off at the bottom up to the side, and I want to take this out and actually use it on my cushion. So using my water just onto the surface of the rice paper or onto the back of it, preferably onto the back so you don't get your bleed going through, and then it just separates really nicely as you tear it apart. So if I put my water just on the side, and on the back, let's have a look. So you can see there the water has gone in that motion all the way through, and then it will tear away really nicely, giving me that lovely feathered edge. And then because the water seeped into it, I can shape it and go through in different areas to get the detail I want. But I know that this will then seamlessly blend into whatever project I'm applying it to. So it's a really nice way to work with your papers.
Okay, so I'm going to go on to the drawers. Best put the lid on that. So I will knock it over.
There will be a disaster. We've seen those before.
And the lid on that as well, because I'll definitely put my hand in that.
I can already see the massive stuff that's building
I know.
up.
I'm trying not to be too messy.
And we've probably been working for about 10 minutes if that.
Okay, so I'm just finishing off drying this. It is just a tiny bit tacky, but I reckon that'll be fine to work with now. So, as you can see, we don't need all of this bit and all of this bit. And a top tip when you want to take off some of your rice paper is to use some sandpaper or a sand block. And what I like to do is just drag it away rather than dragging into the design, because we don't want any scratch or score marks on there. We want to drag it away. Weave it across, just make sure that you don't drag it onto your design, because I'd hate for you to ruin it.
I absolutely love that technique.
I know, Mandy
It's
showed us this, it was really
Yeah,
unbelievable.
and I think we sat there with scissors, didn't we, trying to cut it away to start with.
Or like measuring it,
Yeah.
you don't need to.
Yeah, then we realised, oh my goodness, it's so easy just to get that nice edge.
Yeah, really quick and easy.
So I'm going to start working on my cushion cover now. So I'm taking this as the sky, so the blue section at the top, fading down, I'm going to start applying my rice papers. So what I'm going to use is my fabric decoupage glue that Elizabeth mentioned earlier. And with this one, once it's set, you can heat set it with an iron or a heat gun. And once you've done that, it's then machine washable. It's brilliant and wipeable. Yeah. I'm going to make a bit of space.
I know, I feel like we're taking over the whole desk.
As always.
I think I'm definitely a bit more messy than you when I'm working.
That's a bit of a challenge actually.
I've got a lot of paint out.
Yeah. I think we both, every single time.
Every single colour paint out, and I've got loads of different options to
Yes.
paint with, and I never need them all, but it's like to have them there.
So I'm applying my fabric decoupage glue to the back of my rice paper. I'm going to be applying this to the surface of the fabric. So I'm putting it straight onto the paper instead of the fabric, so I know exactly what areas are going to be attached and I don't have any marks around it. So it's a perfect way to sort of adhere all of those surfaces to fabric. And I'm using a flat brush for it. And I always choose to use a flat brush with my glues because then I'm not going to get all of my product soaking into a sponge or anything like that. It's such an easy way to get the most out of your product. So a good tip there that I always follow. And it doesn't matter if you put quite a bit on, because it's going to give you a strong adhesion to that fabric, and you know that you're going to be able to pop it in the washing machine at no higher than 30 degrees, and it's going to still be on there when you get it back out.
I think it's really nice to have that aspect of like having your own sort of interiors that you've done and knowing that you can wash them and keep them forever.
It's like, because I always grew up wanting to like make my own t-shirts and things like that, and I never knew there was this sort of products, and with Cadence it allows you to do that so easily.
I used to always really struggle with like doing the heat transfers and then never working or it's going wrong or I'm ruining the design, but this is just a really quick and easy way of doing that heat transfer.
So I've not actually had to go back into the product, I'm just using whatever's left inside my brush to go back over the surface of the paper and that's giving me a glaze, if you like, over the top, and it's going to seal everything in. So I'm not going to get any of my corners of my rice paper lifting up, curling back. It's going to all be in there. It's going to be pretty hard wearing as well. And you can just see the intensity of the colours of those papers. So that's one piece that I've put on there already. I'm going to keep going across the bottom, up the edges to sort of create a scene. But I really like that, the intensity of the pigment in those papers are just incredible.
That's amazing.
They're nice, aren't they?
Yeah, that looks great.
It's sort of as if you were to go on a walk and you get to a lake and you'd see through the trees.
Yes.
Got a vision. Right.
So the drawers are done, so that's the one continuous rice paper, but it's split in two. So then when you pop it into the drawers, we'll still have that lovely half like an A5 scene. So I'm going to go back onto the side of the drawers. So to get this burnt edge look, I'm going to be using the Cadence Distress Paste in, I think it's Antique Maroon. And then I'm going to be taking a little bit of the Cadence Cut and Use, dip it in, and I always work into the lid of my pot.
I tend to do that as well. It's like a little palette, isn't it? It's really
and you always
handy.
use these as little palettes.
Yeah, because
Then
then
it
you're not
always
mixing
dries,
it.
doesn't it?
Exactly.
But with this you can just keep using it out of here and you just get that right amount if you only want just a tiny little bit on. And then all I'm going to do is lightly buff it into the corners, and I want the intensity to be more around the edges and bring it in, so I want to concentrate on putting most of the product on the outside and blending it towards the centre.
One thing that I like to do as well when I've got all my rice papers cut is sort of just have a little bit of a play, which is exactly what I'm doing. Thinking which is the best way. I've got some trees that I've sort of fussy cut around. I've got some other elements as well that I'm working with. And all of your leftover bits of rice paper, when you're done, save them, because I saved these pieces from another product I worked on, and they worked perfectly for this because you've got all of the tones in there and all the designs that are merged together to give you this lovely piece of artwork. And you can sort of decoupage them up into a bit of a mosaic sort of pattern, and it all flows together really nicely. So
we always keep like a little folder full of little offcuts, don't we?
Yeah, and it works really well every time. There's always one piece that you know
That
needs
just
something.
fits.
Yeah, definitely. And they're gonna go up there. I just love playing with them. I think they're lovely. So many different outcomes, and that's one beauty of this challenge. Really, is the fact that we've both been given this set of products, the collection, and it's our own interpretation.
Yeah, how I look at it and how you look at it.
Yeah, and everyone, all the samples that come in are always different and unique, and it's lovely to see that everyone has a different take on it. It's really nice. So I've got some spares that I'm going to save, put aside for my next project.
See, when all the samples do come in from the design team, we're like, oh, we never thought of that, or
No.
we never looked at the product like that. So it's just how it's really subjective on how you
Oh,
see
definitely.
it.
Yeah, I think it's great. So we'll take this one. And the way I'm doing this is I'm sort of going in layers. So I know that I want this tree to pop up behind this piece. So I've got to stick this one down first, and then that one over the top. So there's a little bit of planning going into it at the same time as laying down the papers.
There we go. So I've just finished blending all that. It just take a little bit of time. You can keep going with that a little bit more intense if you wanted to. Blending that in, and I'm going to put some stencils in the centre now, just to finish that off.
One thing I like about this glue is you don't have to be quick with it either. It dries when it's down. Yeah, you really have. It dries when you want it to dry. I can still move my papers around until I'm really ready on where they're going.
Nikki's just said, hi David, hi Elizabeth, your project's both look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Nikki.
Thank you very much.
So to pop this stencil onto the little set of drawers, I'm going to be using the Cadence stencil spray. So I'm just going to spray this down here into a little bin. Just picked up a little bit of cotton thread on the way. Take that off. There we go. Back on track. And then this has actually got like a little sentiment in it already, so I'm not going to pop that one in because I want to put a word in there, and I think I might be able to get home in the centre of that. I feel like something like this is really homey a bit.
Yeah.
The sentiment of putting home in it makes it more personal.
And some of these stencils as well, they really are all year round as well as autumnal, aren't they? We found there's a wreath one in there, which I think, you might be using.
Yes.
Barbies. Yeah. And that one you could use for Christmas, you could use for Halloween, autumn,
So
spring.
I have used it in a Christmas way, so as you can see, it has already seen Christmas. So there's gold on it, there's green, and there's red. So this has already been made into like a little Christmas wreath. It works really nice.
Christmas.
Yeah, it's already seen it. It's
I
already
like
been
that.
done. And then I'm going to take some of the Cadence hybrid acrylic in dark brown and just create that dark wreath around the outside. And then just book it in. Am I getting on with yours, David?
Not looking.
You've got a
Crowded.
decoupage
No, let's look. There. A lot of decoupaging going on here actually. I think this is the most amount of rice paper I've applied to a cushion before, so it's something different for me. But yeah,
there's no trees left in the rice papers anymore.
yeah, I think I stole most of them. Sorry about that.
Okay. I'll let you off.
Oh, thank you very much. So I'm just layering them up, laying them down, and as you can see that's just sat over the top of there, and I quite like the composition of it all so far. As you can see, it's starting to come together actually. It is really nice. So I'm going to lay that flat, still using the product that's left over on my brush. And if you used any products on this that aren't sort of washable, or something that's maybe not wipeable, so for example this cushion cover I probably won't be putting in the washing machine, but I know I can do. But then if I wanted to maybe put some, I don't know, some sequins or some liquid jewels or something on here that isn't washable, I can go over it with my Cadence glazes and my Cadence glues and give them a finish that I know is going to be lasting, so I can wipe them down. So it's not just for adhering things to a surface, you can use it to sort of give them a nice coverage.
I think sometimes the projects will make you have them in an idea of being like a little feature, like
Yeah,
a feature cushion or like a
definitely.
little scatter cushion.
Yeah.
I have washed some of my cushions that I've made absolutely fine.
Yeah, I say I remember with the Cadence paint, I actually got the brush with the paint on and went back into my water cup. Well, it was a glass that had my drink in it, and I went straight in and got paint on the glass, which I always do when I'm working, whether it's a cup of tea or whatever. And the paint actually didn't come off it, and it's been in the dishwasher at least, I don't know, 30 times since, however many times I've used it, and it's still on there, got this gold streak going down. So it lasts and it stays.
If I have a cup of tea, my paint brush has gone in it.
Straight away, I'll make you a cup of tea, put it down, and it's got a brush in it.
And I go, oh no. And you already know what's happened.
Yep. How far up are you? How you go? Oh, that looks nice. That was very nice.
Just put the little wreath
Stencil.
on that one. I'm going to do the same on the other side, and then I think I'm just going to put home in the middle and then put the drawers in, and I think that might be me.
Oh, I need to hurry up.
I think you do it like decoupaging.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna speed up. But it just shows how quick it is though to make these sort of pieces. I mean,
Oh,
we
yeah,
started
it's
from
really-
scratch and
Really quick and easy.
it's so easy to work with. And they've got such a big impact as well. I mean, there's pieces that come back from these shows when you see the products and the sort of projects that you make at home as well. But what you'd find in a shop and pay so much money for, or see in a really nice handmade store that you would obviously part with a lot of cash for, and they really are stunning pieces. They're lovely.
I love to see what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite things about it, I think, is seeing what everyone else likes to do with it. It's really nice to see everyone else's work. So I'm taking just little pieces now, and I'm seeing gaps where I think, oh, that could use a bit of paper. So I've got a little bit down here I want to fill in. I'm going to take some more paper down there, and I'm not being too precious with it. I'm just going back in with my brush and laying those down where I think it needs it. I'm going to keep going round on my rice paper. And I always prefer to do this on a glass mat as well. You could do it on any surface really. I think a glass mat is best, because then you know you're going to be able to clean it off with soapy water, and it's not going to ruin the surface that you're working on. There we go. Move that a bit further down.
So Nikki's just sent a question in, and she's put, I love the autumnal colours. Do you both have a preferred style for your mixed media?
You go first.
I think I do, yeah. You always say, oh, it's it's very me, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I always like grunge it up a little bit. I always distress
You're
it.
really good at distressing things,
Yeah.
making them look really authentic and really vintage. I think
Yeah.
that's
I like the sort
definitely.
of darky vintage side. Love a wood grainer.
Yeah.
Love the distress paste. I think that's more me. I'd say you're more. That's very you what you're doing.
The thing is with me, sometimes I can be a little bit too neat, I think.
Yeah.
And with mixed media, that's the thing, is you can make something that uses all your products to create a really nice rustic, upcycled effect, quite vintage and retro, or you can make something that's really
Yeah,
pristine,
yeah.
modern, contemporary. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's so versatile that you can do so much
Yeah.
with it. But every now and again I do put some bits on
you
them.
do distress a little bit.
But
Which
yeah,
is
that's
strange because I like really fine detailed painting.
yeah, exactly. We're polar opposites.
Fine detailed paint. Or
You're a fine artist, but then your pieces are really nice and authentic, and then
like all or nothing.
yeah, I don't know. We sort of swap
Bit of a
halfway.
mixture.
So I'm going to go in with this stencil now, and I absolutely love this one. There's so many elements that you can actually use on this. So leaves are falling, autumn is calling. It's such a lovely sentiment that you can put in the middle of anything really. It could be placemats, it could be on the back of a plate, it could be like a sort of sharing plate that you'd put out for guests, something like that. And then you've got all these little wheats and flowers and pumpkins around. I just think it's beautiful. There's so much on an A4 stencil. You've got tons in there, and they all intertwine into each other, so you can use the full set, or you can mask off areas, which
That's
is what I'm going
already
to
a
do.
scene, isn't it? You
Yeah,
can just pop that straight
definitely.
onto the
If you were to do that straight onto a pillow as it is, or onto like a placemat, or just in a photo frame. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see it. Could you see it then? There we are. Might be able to see it a bit better. Oh, maybe not. But yeah, they are absolutely
I think
lovely.
we'll see them.
Yeah, I do love them. So I'm going to mask off areas that I don't want my paint to go through.
Now I'm hopefully.
That looks very nice.
Thank you.
I would definitely have that.
Yeah, I can fit home in the middle of that wreath, so that's really cool.
Oh, so that's another thing as well. The stencils intertwine with each other, don't they? You can overlay, use them with other ones. Brilliant. So I think I'm almost done with this one. So yeah, I've masked off all my area that I don't want to get my paint through, and I'm going to use an acrylic to go through this. You could use a distress like Elizabeth's used. I'm going to stick with my hybrids so that I know that I can still make this washable if I want to. So my first step is I'm going to use my stencil spray. Trusty spray right about to the area. So with your stencil spray, always do it over a surface you don't want the tackiness to stay to, so preferably like a box that we're using, or you can do it outside. It's entirely up to you, but you only need a very small amount anyway. But I would always say, don't do it over your desk. And I'm going to place that in the middle. This is going to be a bit of a judgment. So I think that is, let's have a look, about 2 fingers apart. I think that should be in the middle. We'll go for that. And the stencil spray works on fabric, works on wood, works on plastic.
I don't think we've
Glass.
got many services that it doesn't go onto.
Excuse me. So, take a little bit of my green hybrid, and this is the leaf green, this one. So you do get the 120ml bottle in this collection as well with those. I'm just choosing to use the smaller one that I've got left. I'm going to take a stipple brush. I think I'm going to use this one. And take a bit of my paint on the end of my brush, and then just, well, what I tend to do is when I've got my paint out, I brush it through the stipple brush so I know it's nicely loaded up, and then I take some off when I'm stenciling, because it will keep on going. And that way I know I've not got too much on my stencil at once because I'm working onto fabric. I don't want the fibres in the fabric to pull the paint and start to bleed under the surface. So a small amount at a time, layering it up, will get you a nice even coverage.
So I've just finished the side pieces, I'll show you them in a second, but I've just seen all these beautiful leaves. So just put them on the top of the box, which I wasn't going to do, but I actually really like it. So I'm going to keep going with that. So we're having a little bit of improvisation.
Oh, are you making up for time? Am I taking too long? I'm almost
keep
there.
going with these stencils.
Yeah, but your project's getting even better, putting more on it. It's a win-win.
Oh, I love those leaves. I'll show you them. So you get a variety of different leaves around the stencil, and then you've got this sentiment with your wreath in the middle. That might be upside down. There you go. That's better. All the words look different to me this way. There we go. And then these are the leaves on top. So I've done them in the brown, and then we've got the wreath that I've just taken the sentiment out that was in on the stencil, but you could always keep that in. You can pop different sort of leaves in the middle, or if you've got all the stencils from different collections, pop that in. And then on there as well. And like David said earlier, it doesn't have to be for that autumnal sort of theme, does it? You can put that at somewhere and...
Exactly. Use it for whatever you want to.
And then we've got stenciled leaves on top of there. And then the drawer fronts in.
That is really nice. I do love that. That is very nice. I like that the continuation of the rice paper through the two drawers, and you've even allowed for the gap in between as well. So it looks as though it should.
It's continuous.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So I'm taking my stencil off, which has worked lovely, and I'm going to set it in a tray of water because you want to pop it straight into water. That way your paints aren't going to set, or your stencil spray will start to lift away from your stencil. Or you could use it straight away again because the spray will stay on there. That's sat in water, and then we have our finished cushion cover. I quite like that. Here we are. So a very autumnal. I think these would look now quite nice together in my living room actually. Nice. Let's see if we can steal these ones. Take these ones home to borrow. No, they are absolutely lovely. So all I've done there is gone through with my acrylic, and I've used all the words, masked off areas I didn't want to go through, and it's come through really nicely.
That looks amazing. It's nice how you picked out the green in there as well, so it just really ties it all together. It looks great.
Didn't even realise I'd done that.
Yeah.
It's just a colour I really like, and then I thought, yeah, it tied in together really nicely.
Yeah,
And I could keep going. I could stencil some leaves on the top and things, but yeah, a bit different, something different for me. But this collection really is so versatile. I can't wait for it to be on Crayon Craft on Thursday. It's going to be really exciting.
Lovely. If you have got any additional questions after this video is done, leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. We'd love to hear any things that you'd like to see.
Yes, definitely. Any projects that you'd like to see us do, or anything you'd like to know how to do, or would like some tips on, definitely give us a shout and we'll straight to you with those for you. But thank you ever so much for watching, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.